Mia Sterling, the girl I had loved for years, chose the worst boyfriend imaginable. Her boyfriend, Kai Barrett, gambled, cheated on her, and repeatedly hit her. Yet Mia kept insisting that deep down he was a good man. Every time I tried to protect her, she accused me of trying to destroy their relationship. Then one day, while I was lying on the ground after a fight with her boyfriend, she looked at me with disgust and said that my concern for her made her sick. That was the moment I finally stopped loving her. But by the time Mia realized that she had lost me forever, she was the one willing to do anything to bring me back. That day, she came to me again after another fight with Kai. Mia was crying, and there were obvious marks around her neck. The moment I saw them, I rolled up my sleeves and headed for the door. I was going to find Kai and make him answer for the way he treated her. But Mia grabbed my arm. "Do not go." He was drinking and lost control of his emotions. "It will not happen again." I felt sorry for her, but I also could not understand why she kept making excuses for him. How many times has he promised that it would not happen again? How much longer are you going to tolerate this? Mia acted as if she had not heard me. She raised her hand and showed me a cheap bracelet. "When he is sober, he really does treat me well. Look at the birthday present he bought me. He even cooks for me." I looked closely at the bracelet and recognized it immediately. It was a popular item from TikTok shop. Cost less than $2 with shipping, and it looked exactly that cheap. And when Mia said that Kai cooked for her, she meant that he sometimes added an egg to a bowl of instant noodles. I could not understand her at all. Mia had grown up in a wealthy family. Her parents surrounded her with love, gave her an excellent education, and never denied her anything. All these years, I had also done everything I could to keep trouble away from her. Yet she had lost her mind over a man who had no stable job, no sense of responsibility, and no respect for her. I wanted to make her finally see the situation from the outside. A cheap bracelet and a bowl of noodles are enough to make you believe that he loves you? Mia, please wake up. What do you see in this man? She did not like what I said. You simply do not know him. He did not grow up the way we did. His parents divorced when he was a child, and he went through a great deal. But his feelings for me are real. If his feelings were real, he would never treat you this way. A difficult childhood does not excuse what he does. Irritation appeared on Mia's face. She could calmly tell me everything Kai had done, but the moment I criticized him, she immediately rushed to defend him. Her phone rang. Kai's name appeared on the screen, and her entire demeanor changed in an instant. Her tears disappeared, and her voice became soft and affectionate. "Honey." Kai did not even say hello. "Did you run to that pathetic admirer of yours again? Do not be angry. I only stopped by Leon's place to pick something up. I am leaving now." She stood up immediately and ignored my attempts to stop her. But before Mia could open the door, her mother entered with 2 assistants. Mia stared at her in confusion. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Her mother did not answer. One look at her expression was enough for Mia to understand who had told her. She spun around and glared at me. "Leon, did you tell my mother?" I had no other choice. Mia ignored everything I said, so I contacted the only person she might still listen to. The moment her mother noticed the marks around her daughter's neck, she understood everything. "Did your boyfriend do this?" "I am calling the police immediately." Mia was not frightened for herself. She was frightened for Kai. "Mom, please do not do that. I hurt myself by accident. Kai had nothing to do with it. You are coming home today. I am also taking back the apartment we bought for you. You will not live near this man any longer." "But I do not want to go home." There was no point arguing with her mother. She ordered the assistants to escort Mia to the car and took her away. That should have been the end of it. I should have calmed down and allowed her family to handle the problem. But I was furious. I got into my car and went looking for Kai. I soon found him outside a roadside cafe. He was sitting at a table, drinking with a group of friends, and acting as if nothing serious had happened. I walked over, grabbed him by the collar, and pulled him out of his chair. "Why did you hit her again?" Do you even understand what you are doing? Kai was not afraid. If anything, my reaction seemed to amuse him. Hit her. What exactly are you talking about? Maybe you mean this. He took out his phone, held the screen close to my face, and played a video. Mia was in the recording. It was a private and deeply humiliating video in which Kai treated her roughly and showed how completely he controlled her. The worst part was that he had clearly saved it not because he cared about her, but because he wanted to show it off to other people. For several seconds, I could not move or speak. Kai smirked and patted my cheek. You are always walking on eggshells around her. You fulfill every wish and are too afraid to say the wrong thing. She is bored when she is with you. Then he leaned closer so that everyone could hear what he said next. Do you see what she lets me do? To you, she is the perfect girl you are afraid to touch. To me, she is nothing more than entertainment. His friends burst out laughing. I lost control and punched him. Kai managed to step back, so my fist only grazed his nose. That was enough for all his friends to attack me at once. There were too many of them. Within seconds, they knocked me to the ground. All I could do was cover my head with my arms while blows came from every direction. Suddenly, Kai started coughing, and his friends stopped. Kai, what happened? Why is your nose bleeding? I recognized Mia's voice. Somehow, she had managed to get away from her mother and come straight to him. Kai wiped his nose and pointed at me. Your devoted admirer came to protect you. He said he was going to make me answer for everything I have done to you. Mia immediately pulled out some tissues and began helping him. Only after she had finished tending to his nose did she finally look in my direction. I was still lying on the ground and could barely get up. But Mia did not even try to offer me a hand. Instead, she wrapped her arms around Kai and looked down at me. How many times do I have to repeat myself? What happens between Kai and me is none of your business. I am an adult, and I can decide who I want to date. Why do you and my mother keep interfering in my life? Kai smiled with satisfaction and pulled her even closer. He deliberately displayed his intimacy with Mia right in front of me. Baby, this is already the third time he has come here looking for trouble. I am tired of him. Look at my nose. What if he broke it? Mia gently comforted Kai and promised to take him to the hospital immediately. Then she turned back to me. There was no gratitude or sympathy in her eyes. There was only open irritation. Leon, do you know how to do anything besides trying to turn us against each other? Who do you think you are? Your obsessive concern has no sense of proportion and no respect for my boundaries. It disgusts me. Her words silenced everyone around us. Kai was the first to break the silence. Did you hear that? She said it herself. Your concern disgusts her. So disappear and stay out of our relationship. He put his arm around Mia and led her toward the car. Before leaving, Kai looked back and silently formed the words with his lips. To me, she is nothing but a toy. That was when I finally snapped. I got to my feet and charged at him again without thinking about the consequences. Only one thought remained in my mind. This time, Kai would answer for every word he had said and everything he had done. Mia screamed and tried to pull me away from Kai. When she could not move me, she grabbed a bottle from the table and struck me on the head. Everything went dark. A moment before I lost consciousness, I had only one thought. It was over between us. I woke up in a hospital. Both our families were in the room, but Mia was nowhere to be seen. After what happened, she had run away with Kai and stopped answering anyone's calls. Her parents kept apologizing. My mother demanded that we go to the police, while Mia's father promised to find his daughter and force her to apologize to me in person. There is no need. I stopped them. I do not want anything to do with Mia anymore. The room fell silent. We had known each other for 20 years, and I had loved her for half that time. Everyone was used to seeing me forgive Mia, no matter how cruelly she treated me. But when she had to choose, she struck me without hesitation to protect Kai. She had ended everything with that single decision. My mother thought the injury had affected my mind and called the doctor back. The examination found nothing wrong. For the first time, I could think about Mia without love, jealousy, or the familiar urge to save her. On the day I was discharged, her father brought her to the hospital after all. Mia had clearly been crying, but I saw no remorse on her face. She was standing in front of me only because her father had given her no choice. "Apologize to Leon Mercer," he demanded. Instead of apologizing, Mia stubbornly replied, "If I had not stopped him, Kai would have been hurt." Her father became furious, but I did not wait for the argument to continue. "Do not force her. I do not need an apology anymore." I turned around and headed for the exit with my mother. Behind me, I heard Mia complain, "See, Dad, I told you Leon would not stay angry with me. He always forgives me." She mistook my indifference for another act of forgiveness. Mia was so certain of my love that she never considered the possibility that it could end. A sharp slap sounded behind us. Mia's father had lost his temper and struck her across the face. "If you do not end your relationship with that man, you can no longer count on our support. Then stop treating me like your daughter." Mia ran out of the hospital. That same evening, she packed her belongings and moved into Kai's apartment. Her parents froze all her bank cards, but even that did not convince her to come home. I had already been accepted by a university abroad, but I had postponed the move because I did not want to leave Mia. The university had allowed me to defer my enrollment until the next intake. Now all I had to do was confirm my place and finish the remaining paperwork. While Mia destroyed her relationship with her family for Kai, I finally began working on my own future. A few days later, Mia suddenly called me. She did not ask how I was feeling after the hospital. Instead, she immediately demanded that I lend her $40,000. "My father froze all my cards, and I have no money left. You have to help me. You live with Kai now. Let him help you." Mia did not even notice the coldness in my voice. He was cheated at a casino, and now he has to repay $15,000. I will use the rest to renovate his apartment. It is so old that I cannot live there comfortably. In other words, she wanted me to pay her boyfriend's gambling debt and then renovate his apartment. "No." Mia fell silent in surprise. "Did your parents freeze your cards too?" She still did not understand that money was not the problem. "My cards are fine. I simply have no intention of helping you anymore. You and I are strangers now." After a long pause, Mia gave a cold laugh. "So you decided to punish me? Fine, Leon. Let us see which one of us gives in first." She ended the call, certain that I would be the first to break. In the past, that was exactly what always happened. But now she was waiting for a man who no longer existed. A few days later, I went to the visa center to complete the paperwork for my studies abroad. Near the entrance, I accidentally collided with a young woman, and our documents scattered across the floor. We crouched down at the same time to gather them. On one of her papers, I noticed the name of the same foreign university I was planning to attend. "Are you going to study there too?" The young woman looked up, and for several seconds I was speechless. She was incredibly beautiful, and when she smiled, 2 small dimples appeared in her cheeks. "Yes." "Do not tell me that you are going there too." I showed her my own documents. "It looks as if each of us already knows at least one person in our new country." But that was not the only coincidence. Among her papers, I noticed the name of the university I had graduated from several years earlier. "Wait. Did you study here too?" "Yes." "I was 1 year behind you." Her name was Una Holloway. We had attended the same university for several years, but we had never truly spoken before that day. Now we were both preparing to continue our education at the same university abroad. The conversation flowed naturally. After a while, Una checked the time. 2 coincidences in a single meeting deserve at least a celebratory lunch. "Will you join me?" I agreed and offered to pay for both of us. Una chose a nearby sushi restaurant. But just as we reached the entrance, I heard familiar voices behind us. "Kai, I have not had sushi in a long time. Let us eat here today." This place is too expensive. There is no reason to waste that much money on one meal. But lunch for two would only cost around $100. First, convince your parents to unfreeze your cards. After that, you can eat here every day if you want. I turned around and saw Mia and Kai only a few yards away. Kai looked at me first, then noticed Yuna. His expression changed immediately. He stared at her so openly that I instinctively stepped in front of her and blocked his view. Mia recognized her too. Yuna. Hello, Mia. It has been a long time. It turned out that they had once belonged to the same university dance club. I had attended almost every performance, but I did not remember Yuna at all because my attention had always been fixed entirely on Mia. Looking back, that seemed especially ridiculous. Mia turned to me and pouted. Leon, you have ignored me for days. Are you still angry? I have been busy. Right now, we are about to have lunch. That single word, we, was enough to change her expression. She studied Yuna carefully. Is this why you suddenly started acting this way? Is it because of her? No. I am simply tired of constantly solving your problems. Yuna has nothing to do with it. Mia could not believe what she was hearing. Tired of me? Do you even understand who you are talking to? I am Mia. We have known each other since childhood. I had no intention of explaining myself again, so I asked Yuna to come inside. But Mia grabbed her sleeve. Neither of you is going anywhere until you explain what is happening between you. Leon, you refused to lend me money, stopped answering my calls, and now you are here with another woman. What is all of this supposed to mean? Then she turned to Yuna. Are you not ashamed of interfering in someone else's relationship? Yuna had not even had a chance to respond, but I was already embarrassed by Mia's behavior. In the past, I had excused everything she did. Now, for the first time, I saw how she looked from the outside. I removed her hand from Yuna's sleeve. Do not touch her. If you want to make a scene, go home and make one with your useless boyfriend. Mia froze. In 20 years, I had never spoken to her so harshly. Tears appeared in her eyes, but this time they had no effect on me. You shouted at me because of a woman you barely know? Leon, are you really choosing her over me? Kai finally stopped staring at Yuna and stepped forward. Who did you call useless? You. We were about to fight again when Yuna suddenly laughed. If a man cannot fulfill one simple wish and take his girlfriend to lunch, it is difficult to call him reliable. Her calm remark wounded Kai more deeply than any insult. His face turned red, and people nearby began looking in our direction. Mia immediately rushed to defend him. You know nothing about him. First, you turned Leon against me, and now you are trying to humiliate Kai. You have always been jealous of me. You were only waiting for a chance to take my place. Yuna remained calm, but Mia became louder and louder. People outside the restaurant had begun to stop and watch. Yes, Kai does not have money right now, but that proves nothing. He is still better than... She did not get to finish. Kai suddenly struck her across the face. Mia lost her balance and sank to the ground, unable to understand what had just happened. Only seconds earlier, she had been defending him in front of everyone. Now he was pointing at her in fury. Be quiet. Who said I have no money? Mia pressed a hand to her cheek and stared at Kai in shock. As far as I knew, this was the first time he had hit her while completely sober, and he had done it in front of a crowd. This time, she could not blame the alcohol or invent another excuse for him. Standing next to you is humiliating, Kai said. Then he turned around and walked away, leaving Mia on the ground. She watched him disappear as tears began running down her face. I did not comfort her. I took Yuna into the restaurant and apologized for what had happened once we were seated. Mia and I grew up together. She is used to having me nearby to solve all her problems. But that has changed. I noticed, Yuna replied. Her behavior still seems strange. She came here with her boyfriend, but for some reason, she demanded an explanation from you. Mia is simply not used to hearing me say no. Maybe. But when you said that we were having lunch together, she was not looking at you. She was looking at me, as if I had taken something that belonged to her. I considered her words. It was probably not love but wounded pride. Mia was used to having all my attention. For the first time, she saw that I could give that attention to another woman. Yuna smiled and opened the menu. In any case, that is not our problem. Let us eat. When we left the restaurant, Mia was still waiting outside. The moment she saw us, she stood up. Yuna quickly understood the situation. I should probably leave. I will see you later. She said goodbye and walked away, leaving Mia and me alone. Mia immediately wrapped both hands around my arm and spoke in the same soft voice that had always persuaded me to forgive her in the past. Leon, I know that you are still angry. You warned me about Kai, and I refused to listen. I even hit you while protecting him. This time, I am the one apologizing first. I calmly pulled my arm free. Mia began to cry. I was afraid that you were going to seriously hurt him. I did not mean to hit you so hard. Please do not ignore me. Kai humiliated me in front of everyone. And now you have turned away from me too. I have no one else. That was the real reason she was panicking. After every fight with Kai, she came to me for support. I comforted her, solved her problems, and made her feel safe again. Now that convenient refuge was gone, and Mia was finally experiencing the consequences of her own choices. Whatever happens between you and Kai is no longer my concern. But I will not be the person you return to after every fight. Fear appeared in her eyes. You cannot do this. You promised that you would always stay by my side and protect me. And you said that my concern disgusted you. I finally listened. I only said that because I was angry. The truth is that I need you. I cannot simply lose you after all these years. But my answer did not change. Then Mia suddenly declared, Fine. I understand now that Kai truly has no respect for me. It is over between us. To prove that she was serious, she took out her phone and called him in front of me. Kai, you humiliated me in public and hit me again. I will not make excuses for you anymore. Our relationship is over. Do not call me. She ended the call immediately. I will collect everything from his apartment today and return to my parents. I will never see Kai again. Can we go back to the way we were now? Her sudden determination surprised me. She had forgiven Kai for far worse things. Yet the moment I distanced myself and appeared with another woman, Mia immediately decided to leave him. Perhaps Yuna was right, but it no longer mattered whether Mia was driven by jealousy, love, or simple possessiveness. If you have truly left him, then I am glad that you finally made a reasonable decision. But things between us will never return to the way they were. We can remain acquaintances. Mia froze and could not find an answer. I left her outside the restaurant and walked away. This time, she really did return to her parents. She admitted her mistakes, deleted every photograph of Kai from her social media accounts, and posted a public announcement about their breakup. Sometimes we choose the wrong kind of love, but the bond between two people who have known each other since childhood is always real. I will take back the person who belonged to me from the beginning. After that, she began sending me enormous messages every day, filling them with memories from our childhood. They arrived in the morning, late at night, and even during my meetings about the university. After several days, I had enough and blocked her number. Mia believed that she could bring me back by reminding me of our past. On my 25th birthday, Yuna unexpectedly called me. Happy birthday, Leon. How did you know the date? I saw it on your documents when we collided at the visa center. Do you have any plans tonight? I honestly told her that I did not. Perfect. I was supposed to pay last time, but you ended up paying for the entire meal. Today, I finally have a chance to return the favor. I tried to refuse, but Yuna was persistent. You cannot refuse when a woman invites you out on your birthday. Besides, we will soon be studying in the same country. I might still need your help. Eventually, I agreed. Before meeting her, I had barely spoken to any woman other than Mia. But with Yuna, There were no awkward silences and no need to constantly search for the right words. We discussed music, philosophy, and video games. We even discovered that both of us had been chased by dogs as children. When I finally looked at the time, we had been talking for almost 5 hours. Almost a year had passed since Mia started dating Kai. During that entire year, I had not laughed as much as I did that evening. After dinner, I drove Yuna home and thanked her for a wonderful day. Before leaving the car, she took a small, beautifully wrapped box from her bag. "This is for you. Do not open it now. Wait until you get home." I promised to follow her instructions and drove back to my apartment. When I opened the door, I heard the television. Mia was sitting on the sofa wearing one of my shirts. "You are finally home. I have been waiting for hours." She behaved as if she could still enter my apartment whenever she wanted. In the past, she could. Mia knew the code to my door and never asked for permission. My apartment had always been her refuge after every argument. The first time Kai hit her, she spent half the night crying at my place. I found him, confronted him, and ended up in a fight. The next morning, while a doctor was treating my injuries, Kai called. Mia left to see him before the doctor had even finished bandaging me. Back then, I had still found excuses for her. Now the pattern was obvious. Kai hurt her, I helped her recover, and she returned to him the moment he called. There was a birthday cake on my dining table. Mia hurried over to it and spread her arms wide. "Surprise! Happy 25th birthday to my knight, Leon." She had called me her knight since childhood. Mia saw herself as a princess, and my role was to protect her under any circumstances. She began arranging the candles. "I have not eaten anything because I was waiting for you all evening. Come over here." I placed Yuna's gift on a shelf near the door, but I did not enter the room. "Mia, things between us will never be the way they were. Your knight is not going to wait for you anymore." She pretended not to hear me and continued lighting the candles. "Everything is ready. Come make a wish." "You should not have come here." Mia froze. Then she threw the lighter onto the floor. "Enough." She turned toward me. Tears were already streaming down her face. "Yes, I chose the wrong man, and I ignored your warnings. But does one mistake erase 20 years of our lives? I apologized. What else do I have to do before you stop treating me like a stranger? You never had to choose between us, Mia. You chose Kai every single time. I finally stopped waiting." My answer made her abruptly change the subject. "You spent the entire day with Yuna, did you not? What could you possibly see in her? Or are you using her to make me jealous and punish me for choosing Kai? Who I spend my time with is my business now." I did not want to continue the conversation. "I am tired and want to rest. Please leave." Mia nodded several times, as if she had finally convinced herself that her explanation was correct. "Fine. I am giving you one final chance. If you let me walk out now, we will never speak again. Then you will be the one who regrets it." After everything that had happened, she still believed that she was the one offering me a final chance. I could not help smiling. "Thank you, but I do not need it." Mia could not think of a response. She reached the door, then looked back. "At least Kai calls me every day, apologizes, and sends me gifts. Since you are so certain that our relationship is doomed, I will take him back and prove to you and our parents that all of you were wrong." With those words, Mia left. The moment the door closed, I changed the entry code. Because of the scene she had created, Yuna's gift remained unopened on the shelf near the door. Mia followed through on her threat. She reconciled with Kai, fought with her parents again, and moved back into his apartment. The news upset her mother so badly that she began experiencing heart problems. Even that did not make Mia reconsider her decision. As the day of our departure approached, Yuna and I spoke more often. At first, we discussed the move and our studies abroad. One evening, the conversation turned to the university we had both attended. "My first year was extremely difficult," she said. "I came very close to falling into depression. I never would have guessed. You seem so confident now. I am now. Back then, everything was different. I wanted to ask what had happened, but Yuna abruptly changed the subject. You still have not opened my gift, have you? I looked at the box that was still sitting near the door. She was right. After Mia appeared at my apartment, I had completely forgotten about it. How do you know? Yuna did not explain. She only laughed, wished me good night, and ended the call. I was about to open the box when my mother called. Our families lived in the same gated community, so serious news traveled quickly. Mia was pregnant. Her family had only just learned about it, even though she was almost 4 months along. That meant she had become pregnant long before her recent breakup with Kai and their latest reconciliation. She had gone to her parents with Kai and demanded that they accept their relationship. If they refused, Mia intended to leave the family permanently. She also wanted her father to restore access to her bank cards. But her father refused to be pressured and ordered Kai to leave immediately. Mia stepped in front of her boyfriend. He is the father of my child. If you throw him out, I am leaving too. You can forget about all 3 of us. Her father did not try to stop her. Before leaving, Mia announced that they would apply for a marriage license the next day. She intended to marry Kai immediately and did not want the baby to be born before the wedding. Her mother burst into tears, while her father ordered the household staff to escort both of them off the property. My mother sighed heavily over the phone. Mia was such a calm and sensible child. I do not understand how she became someone who uses her unborn baby to pressure her parents. I did not understand it either, but I had no intention of becoming involved again. The news left me unsettled, and I never reached the gift that evening. A few days before my departure, my mother came over to help me pack. While she folded my clothes, I had to listen to another lecture. First, you spent years chasing Mia and never dated anyone else. Now you are leaving the country to study. When are you finally going to introduce me to a decent woman? I pretended to be completely absorbed in my phone. At that moment, Yuna called me on video. I immediately went into the bedroom and closed the door. I need to go to the northern part of the city today, but my car is at the repair shop. Will you be my driver for the day? By then, we were comfortable enough with each other that I agreed without hesitation. Where should I pick you up? I am at the hospital. I came to visit someone. Meet me at the main entrance. After the call ended, I turned around and saw my mother smiling from the doorway. Who is that woman? How long have you been standing there? Long enough. Tell me where you met her. I had to explain that Yuna had attended the same university as I had, and that both of us were now preparing to continue our studies abroad. My mother nodded with approval. I like her. Do not miss your chance. I did not answer, but I was thinking the same thing. When I arrived at the hospital, I waited in the main lobby. While I was waiting for Yuna, shouting erupted behind me. Several medical workers were rushing a patient toward the operating rooms. Everyone moved aside to clear a path. For months pregnant with severe bleeding, prepare an operating room immediately. Mia was lying on the stretcher, pale and unconscious. Before I could approach, the doctors pushed her through the operating room doors. Kai was nowhere in sight. Leon, what are you looking at? Yuna walked up beside me. The moment I explained who had been taken into surgery, her expression became serious. Call her parents. Someone from her family needs to be here. I followed her advice. Mia's parents arrived as quickly as they could. Her father silently paced outside the operating room, while her mother stared at the closed doors. After some time, a doctor came out and explained that a close relative had to sign the consent forms before the emergency procedure could continue. Her father signed the documents and tried to remain calm. Mia's mother could not hold back her tears. Kai nearly destroyed my daughter. She stumbled and I had to support her. The woman gripped my arm tightly. Why did Mia not choose you? If she had been with you, she never would have ended up here. I did not know how to answer. The operation could take several hours, so I asked Yuna to go home. Before leaving, she bought water and food for all of us. I do not know how many hours we spent outside the operating room. Only when the doctor came out and announced that Mia's life was no longer in danger did everyone finally breathe again. However, the doctors could not save the baby. For her parents, the most important thing was that their daughter was alive. They had feared that the child would permanently bind Mia to Kai and allow him to control her life even more. Mia did not regain consciousness until the following day. During that time, I went home, changed my clothes, and finally opened Yuna's gift. Inside was a small crystal sphere containing a miniature model of the solar system. It seemed strangely familiar, but I could not remember where I had seen it. I put the sphere in my pocket and returned to the hospital. For the first several hours after waking, Mia refused to speak. She turned toward the wall and did not respond even to her parents. Only when her mother began to cry and begged her to tell the truth did Mia finally speak. When I had money, Kai at least pretended to be a good boyfriend. Sometimes he cooked, bought gifts, and promised that he would find a job soon. But after my father froze my cards, he changed completely. Kai drank and gambled almost every day. He could disappear for the entire night and return as if nothing had happened. Before long, Mia discovered that he was still seeing other women. Even though she was pregnant, every household responsibility fell on her. She bought groceries with her remaining savings, cooked, did the laundry, and cleaned. Kai gave her no money and demanded that she stop asking questions. We argued again this morning, Mia continued. I told him that he needed to stop gambling and find a job. He became angry and hit me. Even after he saw her condition deteriorating, Kai did not call for medical help. He became afraid of the consequences and simply left. Mia had to reach the phone by herself and call an ambulance. When she finished the story, she covered her face and began to cry. Leon, I was wrong. You warned me from the beginning, and I accused you of trying to destroy our relationship. Kai really was a liar. Mia's mother sat beside the bed and embraced her daughter. Come home. Your father and I cannot survive another situation like this. We do not want to control you. We only need to know that you are safe. Her father stood near the window with his fists clenched. I will not allow Kai to escape responsibility for what he did. But Mia barely looked at her parents. All her attention was fixed on me. I thought I was different from every other woman. I believed that I could change him. I thought he would stop drinking, gambling, and causing trouble for my sake. Now I understand that a man like him will not change simply because someone loves him. She was right, but she had reached that conclusion far too late. Leon, everything you said about him was true. While I was unconscious, I dreamed about our childhood. We were pretending to get married. I was the bride, and you were the groom. You promised that you would always protect me and never let me cry. Do you remember? I remembered. But a promise made during a childhood game could not restore the feelings I had lost. You need to recover. I will not discuss our relationship in a hospital room. I headed for the door, and Mia tried to get out of bed. Her parents had to hold her back. I am not asking you to forget everything in one day. Just do not disappear. Give me a chance to prove that I have changed. Her voice became louder, and a nurse entered the room. The patient just underwent surgery. She cannot become this agitated. I made no promises and stepped into the hallway. Yuna had returned to the hospital and was waiting outside the room. Have you been here long? I just arrived. How is she? She is no longer in danger, but the doctors could not save the baby. Yuna was silent for a moment before carefully asking, We are supposed to leave in a few days. Are you still going? I could hear the concern in her voice. After hearing Mia, she probably thought I would cancel my plans and stay behind. You silly girl. Why would you think I had changed my plans? Of course I am going. Yuna visibly relaxed, then immediately pretended to be offended. You are the silly one. More importantly, did you finally open my gift? I did. But now I have a question. I took the crystal sphere from my pocket. The moment I saw this in the box, I knew that I had held it before. I simply could not remember where it came from. Yuna carefully took the sphere. It really was yours. Then how did you get it? You gave it to me 5 years ago, behind the university library. Her words brought back scattered details. A bench near the rear entrance, a notebook filled with foreign language vocabulary, and a young woman who constantly covered her face. I had been 20. Yuna had been 19. During my first year, I felt completely alone, she explained. It was my first time living far away from my family. I could not adjust to the dormitory, and I could not make friends. It seemed as if everyone had already found a place where they belonged except me. Eventually, I started hiding behind the library and crying there for hours every day. I began to remember too. At the time, I often went behind the library to study foreign language vocabulary. It was quiet, and no one disturbed me. Then one day, a crying young woman appeared in my usual spot. First, I tried to ignore her, but she returned several days in a row, and eventually I could not take it anymore. So you approached me because you wanted to tell me to be quiet? Yuna asked with a smile. That was exactly what I intended to do. But for some reason, I stayed and talked to you instead. She had kept her face covered and repeatedly asked me not to look at her because she was embarrassed by her tears. That was why I barely remembered her appearance and did not recognize her at the visa center. You were terrible at comforting people, Yuna reminded me. But I never forgot one thing you said. What was it? You said that one day I would find my own son. It might be a person, a purpose, or a dream that would make me want to smile again. Before leaving, I had handed her the crystal sphere with a tiny sun at its center. You can start with this. Just try not to interrupt my studying again. To me, it had been a chance conversation that I soon forgot. Yuna had kept my gift for 5 years. Is that why you decided to return it? Yes. I wanted to thank you and find out whether you would remember the girl who cried behind the library. If you had opened the box on your birthday, you would have immediately asked how I got your crystal sphere. That was how I knew the gift was still untouched. It turned out that the visa center was not our first meeting. Back then, I had not known her name and had barely seen her face. Several days later, Mia was discharged from the hospital. She returned to her parents and slowly began to recover. On the day of our flight, my parents came to see me off. Yuna and I had almost finished checking in when Mia appeared at the airport with her mother. She intended to come here alone even though she can barely stand. Her mother explained wearily. Her father and I had no choice but to bring her. Mia had not recovered from the operation. She had lost a great deal of weight, and her oversized coat seemed to swallow her thin body. Leaning on her mother's arm, she slowly approached me. When Mia reached me, she made a request. I want to speak with Leon alone. My mother and Mia's mother reluctantly stepped away. Before leaving, my mother gave me a look that asked me not to upset Mia. Yuna understood as well and joined them. Once we were alone, Mia needed several moments to gather her strength. So you are really leaving? Yes. What if I go too? I can enroll at a university nearby. I can help you and support you. If I am the one who stays beside you this time, can we have another chance? No. I answered immediately and gave her no false hope. Tears appeared in Mia's eyes. Why? I admitted my mistakes, left Kai, and will never return to him. What else do I have to do? Nothing. If you have decided to change your life, then do it for yourself, not as a way to win me back. Admitting a mistake is important, but it cannot erase the consequences. I do not wish you any harm, Mia. I simply do not love you anymore. She covered her mouth and shook her head. I did not doubt that her regret was genuine now. But regret could not restore my trust or bring back feelings that were gone. I had once loved her with all my heart. Now that part of my life was over. The airport announced that boarding had begun. I said goodbye to my parents and headed toward security. At the last moment, Mia grabbed my arm again. Leon, please do not leave. If you get on that plane, I will truly lose you forever. She was still too weak after the operation, so I did not want to pull away too sharply. Then Yuna approached us. "Let me speak with her." She led Mia aside. I could not hear their conversation, but after several minutes, Mia stopped crying. She looked at me as if she were seeing me for the first time, not as her eternal knight but as a separate person with a life of his own. Then she slowly released her grip and made no further attempt to stop me. Once we were on the plane, I asked Yuna, "What did you say to her?" She smiled. "It is a secret." To understand why that conversation affected Mia so deeply, you need to hear Yuna's story. Yuna's story. When I was 19, I fell in love with Leon. At first, what I felt was gratitude. During my first year at university, I struggled to live away from my family. I felt lonely and cried behind the library almost every day. Then one afternoon, Leon sat beside me, listened, and gave me a crystal sphere with a tiny sun inside. To him, it was a brief conversation with a stranger. To me, it was the moment I finally began to believe that the difficult period would someday end. I soon learned that Leon had loved Mia for many years. Everyone believed that two childhood friends who had grown up together would eventually become a couple. I had been considering joining the dance club for some time. When I learned that Mia was a member, I finally signed up. I wanted more opportunities to see Leon and to discover whether I had even the smallest chance of attracting his attention. I received my answer quickly. At every performance, Leon watched only Mia. He brought her water, waited after rehearsals, drove her home, and was always the first person to notice when her mood changed. The room could be filled with women, but Mia was the only one he saw. I understood how deeply he loved her, so I did not interfere. To Leon, I was only a student he had once met behind the library. I kept my feelings to myself and focused on building my own life. After graduation, I found a job. Leon and I had no contact, but mutual acquaintances occasionally mentioned how he was doing. The crystal sphere remained on my desk, not as a promise that I would wait for Leon, but as a reminder that one kind act could keep someone standing during the darkest period of her life. 5 years later, I began considering further study abroad. Around the same time, university friends told me that Leon had also applied, and one of his choices was a university I had already been considering. I decided to give myself a chance. I did not abandon my life for him. I chose a program that suited my own plans and applied to the same university. Our meeting at the visa center was not entirely accidental. I had gone there to complete my own paperwork when I saw Leon near the entrance. I could have simply greeted him, but after 5 years of silence, I lost my nerve. I pretended not to notice him and stepped directly into his path. The collision was deliberate. The papers scattering across the floor was not. When Leon failed to recognize me, I received a chance to meet him again without Mia standing between us and without the expectations left over from our university years. I did not return the crystal sphere as a confession of love. I wanted to thank him and show him that the words he had forgotten had once truly helped someone. More than anything, I wanted to know the real Leon, not the knight who was obligated to rescue someone, but the man with his own wishes, fears, and plans. Before boarding, I asked Mia, "Do you truly love Leon?" Despite her weakness, she looked at me with hostility. "Of course I love him. We grew up together. What could an outsider possibly know about our relationship? Then answer honestly. Do you love Leon himself? Or are you afraid of losing the man who spent 10 years putting you first?" She tried to object, but I did not let her interrupt me. During Leon's 3rd year at university, he injured his leg during a basketball game. Instead of supporting him, you refused to speak to him for an entire week because he could not take you to a concert in another city. After graduation, he suggested that the two of you continue your education abroad. You refused to go, but you also asked him to stay. Leon postponed his own plans because of you. Mia looked in his direction. After only a few weeks of ordinary conversations, I learned that Leon has a sensitive stomach, sometimes suffers from headaches, and gets a sore throat whenever the seasons change. You spent 20 years beside him. Did you know any of that? Do you know what frightens him, what he wants, or what makes him happy? She did not answer. He treated you like a princess. But did you ever ask what your knight wanted? Loving someone does not mean missing the care he gave you after it disappears. It means noticing the person himself. I paused. I will not decide whether your feelings are real. Maybe you are only beginning to understand them now. But until today, you demanded a kind of love from Leon that you never gave him in return. Mia looked at him again. This time, there was no resentment in her eyes and no silent demand that he return immediately. There was only a realization that had come too late. That was what I said to her at the airport. On the plane, I told Leon that it was a secret, and he did not press me for an answer. When the plane rose above the clouds, he turned toward me. We have already shared 2 meals, several dozen phone calls, and one very unusual gift. When we land, will you go on a real date with me? Not as someone from my old university and not simply because we are attending the same school. I had waited a long time to hear those words, but I still asked, are you certain that you are not only trying to distract yourself from Mia? I am certain. I am not looking for someone to replace her. I want to know you. Then yes. For the first time, Leon reached for my hand himself, and I intertwined my fingers with his. We did not rush during the months that followed. We studied, argued about music, explored a new city, and gradually built a relationship in which neither of us was expected to play the role of a rescuer. One day, Leon's mother called and told him about Kai. He still had the same private video of Mia that he had shown his friends outside the cafe to humiliate her. This time, he demanded $70,000 and threatened to publish the recording online. But Mia did not protect him or hide the problem from her parents. Her father saved every message and gave them to the police. The threats provided enough evidence for Kai to be charged with extortion and eventually sent to prison. Leon asked only whether Mia was safe. When he heard that she was at home with her parents, he ended the call. He could still care about her as another human being, but he would never become her rescuer again. At the end of our first semester, we stopped outside the university library after class. Leon took the familiar crystal sphere from his pocket and held it out to me. Are you giving it to me again? 5 years ago, I gave it to a girl whose face I barely remembered. On my birthday, you returned it so that I would remember. Now I am giving it to you again, knowing exactly who I am giving it to. And what does that mean? He smiled and took my hand. It means that this time, I am choosing the person I want beside me as I move forward. The end.